breaking news coming in. President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This is the latest that is just coming in. In fact, Donald Trump has posted, the United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow is what that post reads. There will be a news conference at 11 a.m. at Mar-a-Lago. Thank you for your attention, Donald Trump. That's the latest tweet that confirms the attacks that have happened after U.S. struck Venezuela against Maduro.
Mira esa mierda, marico. Mamá huevo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Mamá huevo, qué locura. Mosca ahí. Mira esa mierda, explotaron allá toda esa mierda porque tú me estás explotando.
Dios mío.
And that is the next possible move, a regime change in Venezuela after US President Donald Trump has confirmed Maduro and his wife have been captured. They've been flown out of the country. There are yet no details about where they've been taken, whether they've been held hostage. All of that has not been confirmed, but those are the pictures on the right of your screens from Caracas in Venezuela of the US military strikes that had taken place. Venezuelans have expressed shock and fear as they captured these videos of billowing smoke and bright orange flashes in the sky. A power outage that was also reported. Trump had repeatedly promised land operations in the South American oil producer, which Maduro had led since 2013. US, Venezuela's opposition and various other nations had also claimed that Maduro had rigged an election last year to stay in power. Although Trump has not publicly detailed the aim, but has privately pressured Maduro to flee the nation. And this is something that has also been confirmed by the US, that Maduro and his wife were captured. They've now been flown out of Venezuela. This obviously hinting at how they are alive, but they have been flown out of Venezuela, and a regime change that is expected in Venezuela. Now, when the elections will happen, will the elections happen, and how is something we are still waiting for answers to. The Venezuelan government that had accused the United States of attacking civilian and military installations in multiple states, calling it military aggression by Washington. And the government that was led by President Nicolas Maduro had declared a national emergency following the series of attacks that had happened in Venezuela. US has, of course, in the form of this post that has come from Donald Trump, confirmed one thing, that those strikes were very much carried out by the US, and how Maduro and his wife have been captured. They've been flown out of Venezuela. Those are the pictures on your screens from Caracas in Venezuela, where the strikes had happened. US military had launched these strikes, and now in the latest, Trump saying that Maduro has been captured, he's been flown out of the country. President Trump, who had ordered strikes on sites inside Venezuela, including their military facilities, as the campaign against the regime of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro had been carried out. Donald Trump had later said that Maduro and his wife have been captured and flown out of the country during the large-scale strike by the United States. The strikes that follow months of US military buildup in the region, with the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier and numerous other warships that were positioned in the Caribbean. In the recent weeks, the US had seized 2 oil tankers off Venezuela, launching deadly strikes on more than 30 boats the administration says were carrying drugs, and struck what President Trump called the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs is, remember, a claim that United States has made. The Trump administration had accused Maduro of drug trafficking and working with gangs designated as terrorist organizations, which Maduro had denied right till the end. And on Christmas Eve, Donald Trump had declined to say what his goal was, but cautioned if Maduro plays tough, it will be the last time he'll ever be able to play tough. Let me bring in Sushant Sareen joining us on the broadcast. Sushant, what is your reading into the strikes carried out by the US? Were you expecting it given the sort of statements that were coming in from the US administration, and what next for Maduro?
Well, I think the writing was on the wall, what they were planning to do, what the Americans were planning to do. And this is not the first time they've done this. It's an old American adage, give a dog a bad name and then hang him. And that is what they've been trying to do with Venezuela, especially. I'm not a fan of the Maduro regime or whatever was going on in Venezuela, but that is Venezuela's problem. That was not the United States problem. And what the US has done, please, if somebody should explain to me, especially these Western people, how has what the US done any different from what Russia did, for which you were criticizing Russia and excommunicated Russia and imposed sanctions on Russia? Russia was trying to defend its own sovereignty and trying to defend its own national interest and its own existence, which was being threatened by the West. What the Americans have done in Venezuela is indefensible in any which way. Manufactured evidence of drugs, and then you attack a country without any reason whatsoever to effect some kind of a regime change and make it into a colony. What is this rules-based order that the Americans were telling us all along? If tomorrow the Chinese were to do something similar in Taiwan, then will it be acceptable? Because the Chinese have manufactured some excuse to carry out an invasion of another country. So I think it's quite clear that under the regime of Donald Trump, and I think it should only be now called a regime, it hardly seems like an elected government. Under this regime, they have violated all principles of international relations. They have thrown everything to the wind. All norms have been thrown to the wind. And frankly, that entire global order which was existing until now has broken down. So while the Americans will continue to engage in their rank hypocrisy, for which they are quite notorious, they will have no feet to stand on when they try and pick up fudges on behalf of any other country which has been invaded by any other big power. So I think we are in a very, very dangerous situation globally. The global order has broken down. It's not breaking down, it has broken down. The telltale signs of that are everywhere. We are seeing that in the Middle East, we are seeing that in Europe, and now we are seeing that in the Americas. So quite clearly, I think the greatest challenge now for countries like India is how do you protect yourself from these kind of marauding powers around the world, which pretend to be democracies, which pretend to defend human rights and rule of law, but do everything other than what they profess to defend.
Right. Sushant, thank you for putting that into perspective.